Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. In this week's video, I have my friend Andri Sadlak on the show, and he's going to walk us through his inspirational journey coming to Canada, building an online business, and actually selling it. And you want to make sure you're going to stay tuned to the very end to see how much he was able to sell it for. It's a really great story, a lot of great lessons for anyone that's thinking about entrepreneurship. So stay tuned and enjoy. Hey Andri, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super excited to talk with you today because there's just so many things that are going on, and especially in your world here. Obviously, you just sold your business, and that's a huge accomplishment. But I wanted to just hear your whole story from like the very early on, even pre-business, and kind of walk us through how you actually got into Amazon. What was like that moment that made you want to switch from working at a company to being your own boss and just kind of undertaking that whole journey?
For sure. Yeah, I'm happy to share. Where do you want me to start?
So how about we start like, that picture that you showed on Facebook where you're sitting in your house, you had that map there, and I believe it was in the Ukraine, right? So start
Yes,
off us there.
for sure. So that picture is actually from my student dorm. It's in Kiev, Ukraine, where I studied, but I grew up in the western part of Ukraine, a city called Ternopil. So in Kiev, I studied architecture, and that was my room. You could probably see a lot more here back then. And I already had a map on the wall because I really liked anything international. I loved the concept of global citizenship. I wanted to travel the world, and at that point, I still haven't ever been outside of my country. And I already started reading some personal development books, and that's why on the wall you could see 500 euros bill stick to it, because I was already visualizing me having some money. So back then I was just a broke student trying to figure out what I want to do in my life.
So at that point, like, what was the energy around you like? Because like right now, I feel like there's a lot more um, creative energy. Like now that we have like all these opportunities to build things online, to be a creator. But like walk us through
Sure.
like back then, like in the Ukraine, what was the energy like then? Was it just kind of go to school, get a job, get a degree, and just have some security?
Pretty much. Basically, like always, you're always a reflection of your surrounding, your closest circle. And I was clearly surrounded by other students who were dreaming of becoming architects because it's stable. It sounds creative, even though it's not always. And it promises a good income comparatively to some other professions. So most of the people I was surrounded with in that dorm were trying to learn basic skills needed to get a job in order to grow in the architecture career. And I respect that. I love architecture still to this day. I love everything visually appealing and functional. Yet I could see myself doing something different than most because of my values and what I was striving for. And all that extra information outside of my university friends was coming from some random videos, some books, some random connections outside of that little bubble who were opening my eyes on other opportunities. Back then, I remember first year of the university, I already started a network marketing company. Sorry, not company, but I joined a network marketing company as a salesman, basically trying to build my business that way. And that was clearly a failure, didn't work out, but it taught me a lot. So overall for my life, it served as a success because I learned a lot of life skills. Like I learned basic sales skills. I learned how to work on a mindset, how to build that connection with people you don't know and stuff like that. And that's critical for the long term if you want to be an entrepreneur.
I think any time that people like mention MLM or like that type of opportunity, it's almost like a gateway to really
Pretty
opening
much.
your eyes and your outlook on how business is conducted. Because for the longest time when I was young, I thought that when you work for a company, they know exactly what's going on. Everything is completely organized and everyone has their shit together, right? But as I got
Yeah,
into the corporate world as well, it's like everyone just has an idea of what's coming and they just do their best. Like nothing
true.
is in concrete. Like no one like knows exactly what's coming. We just do forecasts and try to meet those and exceed it. But in terms of like everything being completely 100% organized. It's just not how the world operates. It,
Yeah, yeah, nothing's really guaranteed. No,
it's like you kind of make a plan and you just see how it goes and you
you
reflect
adjust
upon
as you
it.
go.
So did
Yeah.
you end up finishing university in the Ukraine?
Yes, I did. I had doubts because year three, I think, I clearly understood like I'm not going to be your regular architect. And I was always striving to build my own businesses. I just had no idea what I wanted to do. But I still decided to complete and get the degree because I knew that like I was dreaming of living in North America, and I knew that it's going to be way easier to immigrate if I do have that piece of paper. So I did complete the degree actually fairly well, and I contribute my creativity to getting good grades more than just my skills as an architect, to be honest with you, just because I could always break down any goal into the most effective ways to achieve the goal. And very often you don't necessarily have to know that subject the best to get the best grade, but you have to understand what that particular professor appreciates and values in his life or her life, and what it actually takes to increase your chances of getting good grades. And I systemized my approach to that as much as possible because I didn't want to spend too much time actually studying. And that way I graduated with really good marks, which helped me to get my first scholarship in Canada when I moved for high academic achievements. And that laid the foundation for me of getting more scholarships as I was studying for some extracurricular activities and stuff like that. So it's funny how you can connect the dots looking backwards, but when you just follow your heart, you don't really know where it's leading in the beginning.
So how did you develop that approach, Andre? Like in terms of finding out exactly what the evaluator wants and doing kind of like the most optimized amount of work to get the optimal result.
Um, I think it's just gut feeling, first of all, which led me to some resources that led me to other resources, and it always works that way for me. And very often, all the big changes in life and all the personal growth opportunities come through other people. And I never hesitate connecting with other people because from my experience, it leads to a better life overall. And it's not like I'm finding people to get some information from or get some advice from. I'm trying to give first because I know that universe works in a weird way, and the more you give, the more you get, and not because you aim to get, but because the value you create, the value you produce, uh, feeds itself back in the ways you never expect, and you get that response naturally at the times when you need them. So it's mostly through people and trusting my gut feeling, basically.
I think you mentioned a really important point there is really giving first and taking initiative. Because I think a
True.
lot of people they want to get something first, and then they want to feel that they've received something, and then they'll exchange the information, or they feel like they've gotten like an unfair exchange in a way, or they want to hide information away because they think it's scarce or whatnot. But the truth is, the
Right.
more you outflow to other people, the more you give in exchange, like it's just gonna come back that much more.
100%. Yeah. You couldn't have said it better.
So then, so you graduate. How did the actual process of coming to Canada look like?
So when I was planning to move to North America, I basically looked at the United States because I've been there once for a summer, and I really liked how I felt being in America. And I've quickly figured out with my knowledge, my scientific background, basically no desire to build a academic career or whatsoever, I wouldn't find any ways to really immigrate to the United States, at least easily and legally. But then I looked at all other options, and Canada was the second best option in my mind at that point. Now I know it's number one for what I'm trying to achieve in life. But back then it was like, hey, what's the closest that I can actually um, uh, achieve, right? And I wanted to move right away, even though I've never been in Canada. And when I landed in Toronto for the first day, I knew zero people in the country, but I knew that it's gonna fit me because for two things, for two compared to Europe, where I'm from, in North America, in Canada, and the United States, if you are from outside and you're not like you didn't grow up there, it doesn't mean you cannot achieve. Like anything is possible. Everyone's equal. It's a multicultural society. It's super diverse, and everyone brings their own unique value. And I really like that approach. I feel like um, that's pretty much the success of the United States and Canada in that core shell belief. And then for me, it's just from my research, I could see that it would be the easiest to immigrate through education. And I found just a 1-year program, 2-semester program in Toronto that I could easily graduate. It was a super easy program. I just picked international business management because I knew I could figure it out. It's not like super complicated math or chemistry or anything like that, or architecture, which isn't easy. So I just picked the easiest path so I could focus on building my new life as a future entrepreneur. And it worked out because after 1 year of education, you get a 1-year work permit. I believe it's still the case. And then my now wife joined me there too. So she was going through the same process. I'm not going to get into details, but that was basically my thinking. I was like, hey, this is the easiest way to immigrate. I want to live in this part of the world. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I don't like it, I'll spend about 5 years to get my citizenship, plus minus. And that's actually what happened. And is that the worst, really that bad of a scenario, right? I spent 5 years studying architecture in Ukraine, and I'd rather have my Canadian citizenship in my hands and be free to travel anywhere, right? So yeah, that's how I approached it.
So amazing. So did you have to learn English before you came, or is English like more common in the Ukraine now?
It's not that common. Young people like me, they usually speak fairly well. And everybody learns English in the school, but it's funny how teachers don't know English when they teach English.
It's a
So
it's a
yeah,
hard language to learn though. There's just so many different like rules for everything.
well, I'd have to disagree with you because my language, Ukrainian, is way more complicated. So I feel like English is actually like we're lucky that the Englishmen took over the world pretty much at some point, because English is not that hard. It's way easier than most European languages, and I'm happy that I had to learn English and not, let's say, German, which I was trying to learn, or French. Like, yeah, I don't think it's that complicated. Obviously, my English is not perfect, but it's good enough for me to live the life I want to live, and that's all I need, right?
Yeah, like honestly, I couldn't really tell that you didn't. Your English sounds great to me.
Maybe because you're used to being around immigrants all the time, right? Like most of the people around here in big cities in Canada, they're not like a lot of them are not born in Canada,
Right.
so they
No,
have
that's a good
certain
point.
accent.
That's a good point. So then,
Right.
like, you graduate. Did you stay in Toronto for a long time, or what's the next move after Toronto?
Yeah, so I worked there first in the logistics industry, basically a moving company, but luxury moving company. So I learned basic sales skill within the North American culture there, which was super helpful. Even though the salary was low, I think I was making 35K a year in Canadian. But to me at that point was like, wow, that's a lot of money. 35K, amazing. For 35K, I can pretty much buy an apartment in the capital of Ukraine. So I was happy. And yeah, when I look at my life, I'm happy about so many simple things that it's funny. But it taught me a lot. It taught me that you don't have to be, let's say in my case, Canadian or American to connect with other people and convince them to go with your service versus somebody else's service. And it gave me that practice of determining what's important for people so I can actually give them the value they're seeking. So that's something that I'm using every day now. And more than salary, I gained that knowledge and that experience in that company, and also a little bit of project management there too, because you kind of have to manage few pieces of the puzzle to make any moving project successful. So yeah, that was my intro to the Canadian culture, working for that logistics company. And after I think like 2.5 years or so in Toronto, so 1 year education and 1.5 year working, I was able to land a job in British Columbia, which was a long-term dream of mine. I wanted to live in the most beautiful part of Canada, and I love mountains, I love adventures. So yeah, I moved to BC. I moved in the winter of 2016, I believe. Yeah, we just packed everything we could fit into the Volkswagen Jetta I had, the same old car I still drive today, and we moved, like, just drove across the country. It's like 5 days. Canada's huge.
I have so many people that come from Toronto, and when they get to like Vancouver or BC, they just love it. Like, the majority of them never go back.
True. Lifestyle is way different. When I moved, it was Kelowna still, not Vancouver yet at that point, but I already felt like I'm in a different country. Like, yeah, everybody speaks English still. It's the same funny, colorful bills that you pay with, but generally culture is much different. Toronto's more like go, 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 corporate culture,
Mhm.
paying mortgages and staying in traffic jams most of your life, which I respect the hustle. Like, I have so many friends there that I like what they're about. Yet I wanted to have both. I wanted to be able to give my best in achieving my goals, at the same time have that rest time. And like, I see mountains from my window right now with the snow caps. It's amazing. It inspires me. Like, I think nature has something magical about it that gives you more energy to go back and grind again.
Yeah, it's a way for us to like be renewed and refreshed, after
100%.
sitting in front of the computer, after doing, so much work, whatever we're doing. And we get to be outside, or we get to just see some mountains. And it just brings us like, more to what's natural to us. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
just the connection to
And
nature.
true. I started doing this grounding practice now. So basically, walking barefoot on the ground any time of the year. And so it's, what is it, end of the November right now. I still do this every day, almost every day, and it's still grass. I don't walk on the snow yet. And if we do get snow here in Vancouver, it's going to be maybe a week at the most, and it's not even comparable to the rest of the country. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the part of outdoorsy culture here. I can go snowboarding, right? Which I like. I can go whale watching for my wife's birthday. That's what we did, and we could see the actual whales jump in the ocean. It's pretty incredible what you can experience here because you're living close to all of this natural beauty.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really take that for granted. What we have around us in terms of being able to go outside, go on hikes, and just do like
Yeah,
these activities that
I love hiking.
a lot of people dream of doing. Like sometimes we
True.
just forget that, hey, like, having the ability or the freedom to go anywhere we want, like, and be active and do things that just make us feel good.
100%. And you just mentioned being able to go anywhere you want. Like now, obviously, with COVID, there are some limitations, but it's nothing compared to the limitations I was growing up with. As a Ukrainian, back in the day, now it's a little better. Back in the day, every time you wanted to go abroad, you had to prove that you have reasons to come back. Like it's funny and it's complicated, and it limits your ability to travel if you decide to like that, right? And that's why getting that Canadian citizenship was my biggest goal until I achieved it. I didn't really think about like getting the most salary in a paycheck or achieving the most in some other ways. I was like, okay, I got to sit here until then so I can get my Canadian citizenship, and then I can travel, and then my life's going to be much better. And it's true because you don't have to worry about so many things as a Canadian. And I know that a lot of Canadians don't really know how valuable it is to have that citizenship and have that international respect and acceptance that Canadians have by default, right?
That's very true because anywhere I go, I have no issues ever. Like
Right. You
anywhere in
can decide
Asia,
tomorrow, I'm flying to Asia and you're there, right? Or
yeah.
you're flying to Europe, you're there. It doesn't matter. There's some like few exceptions. I think it's what 196 countries and 175 or so you can go without getting a visa as a Canadian. So there are a few that you still have to plan in advance, but most of the countries you could ever think of going, it's as hard as getting a flight ticket. That's it.
Yeah, it's
I love
incredible,
it.
like how lucky we have it. And
Yeah.
even growing up, like, I remember having a teacher telling me that, having a Canadian passport is one of the best things you can have, or even having like the flag on like your pack going abroad. People just see it and
100%.
they instinctively know that you're connected to good people.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, Canadians have good reputation. They're known as nice people.
So now that you're in Kelowna, Andre, how did you find the Amazon opportunity? Because like I think a lot of people right now, right now that they're looking for an opportunity, but they don't know how to, I guess, take advantage of what they see out in the marketplace right now.
Okay, yeah, let me go a little back why I moved to Kelowna. So I always liked real estate and I wanted to build real businesses. So I was looking for the next career opportunity to be in real estate. And that was like probably a year worth of search. And it's not that easy because I'm not from here. I've never been to British Columbia. And I was looking for work in British Columbia in real estate development, which I had no connection to whatsoever, except from that education in Ukraine in architecture. And I think that was the only piece that kind of convinced them to look at my application. So I did land a job after a year of being in touch with that company. They invited me for interview. They liked me. I liked them. They gave me an offer. And as soon as I got it, I moved. That job was fun, the best job I've ever had, because it was real. It was like the team was fairly small, so I could see my impact on daily basis. Within the first year, my salary grew like 20%, and I could see that long term it would probably make sense for most people to stick to that career and develop yourself as a great real estate developer. It's not easy, it's not boring. Like it's a fun career. At the same time, it's fairly traditional. Like I have to wear suits, ties, and like be nice to everybody and show up on time to all of these numerous meetings during the day. Like there's a lot of work, but it's very traditional business. Like the way you picture it from American movies, that's kind of the real estate development world. Yet it's super gratifying to see your baby project grow up and being built, and the let's say the owners of the condo units you're building being happy about what they bought, and you were the mastermind behind all of it. It like I really enjoy that part, because that's what I liked about architects. I thought architects really create stuff, but it's real estate developers who do. And that's what I was doing in my job. I was kind of telling architects what to do. I was working with consultants, engineers, city staff, getting approvals. So I could see that, hey, I'm the actual mastermind with that team, obviously, not me alone, putting all the puzzle together so it actually happens. And that was a big reminder to myself that entrepreneurs, businessmen are the actual game changers. They are the ones who change the world, not the governments, not the architects in my case, like not any one single profession. If you want to single it out, it's entrepreneurs, because they actually put everything together and make it happen. And if there's profit, it makes sense. It means that people vote with their dollars for what they want in their life. So it's just a proof of my views again with that job. But what I found quickly is as an employee, unless you can build yourself up as a partner down the road, which I unfortunately couldn't see happening, you're always limited with how much you can achieve, with how much you get compensated for, which with your impact too, because there's some responsibilities that you can't take on your plate, and you can't really take all the credit and stuff. That's why you can't get compensated as the owner of the company. You can only get compensated for that small fraction of the work you're doing. So within the first couple of years, I quickly figured out that there's no way I can become a millionaire, let's say, if I stick to this career as an employee. Maybe as the owner of the business in the future, that'd be possible, because I see people do that. But I could see some of my friends at the time building online businesses and enjoying that freedoms that come with the online businesses. They were traveling the world. They'd be working from anywhere and looked like they were making decent money. So I was like, hey, that looks like the new trend. That looks like the future. More and more I see the world becoming global. You don't have to be, let's say, in Kelowna in order to live a good lifestyle that Kelownian people can live. You can be anywhere in the world and afford a lot more in some places than you would in Canada. And enjoy all of the freedoms globally, right? And all you have to do is build a business in a way that it doesn't make you dependent on local economy only, right? And I started speaking to people again. So as I said before, it's all like usually it's my gut feeling and people. And I know somebody actually from Ukraine who was running a fairly successful marketing company, basically doing Facebook ads, and clients were mostly in North America. And I asked him about the opportunities he could see in today's world at that point. And he was like, oh, you can do this. You can sell info products. You can sell whatever. As long as you sell something every day, you'll be good. Like, okay, fair enough. Oh, and I actually know somebody who sells on Amazon. I'm like, what's that? How does it work? Back then, I still thought, especially being in Canada, is a little behind the United States in terms of e-commerce world, in my opinion. I still thought Amazon is like selling books, right? And
100%.
probably just, yeah. So, and that person who I got introduced to was already selling other stuff. And I looked at the opportunity. I looked through YouTube. I could find some videos that, like, there were already some gurus talking about building real business using Amazon. And I was intrigued. So I talked to that person a few times. I was able to ask any questions, let's say once or twice a week. So that was super helpful in the beginning, but most of the work was still done like by myself, watching the resources I could find for free online, and laying out the plan of how I see developing and researching products, and the drill. So yeah, that was my start in the e-commerce world, and I think it was a fairly smooth transition because I could do that in the mornings and after the work, the corporate job I had, and slowly but surely it was growing and growing and growing up until the point when I got fired. And at that point, I was happy that I built something in advance.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's a really important point that you just mentioned, right? Like you can still have a job and build something that over time becomes something more significant. I think a lot of
yeah,
people in today's culture, they want to just have something right away and they want to build it over like a course of a weekend. But
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
just there's no way to do it because there's just so much things you don't know about that industry, about entrepreneurship, about just finding the right information. And it just takes natural time for you just to uncover and discover more information that leads you to being able to fully understand like that opportunity. So it's like
100%.
anyone listening, it's okay if it takes like a few months or a year, as long as you make like a distinct goal of actually achieving something through the time.
For sure. Yeah. There was a phrase I saw recently that basically clicked around this topic. It was something along the lines of people lose because they want things fast when the life is long. And I couldn't agree more. It's like long-term perspective on things makes the winners the winners.
Well, 100%. And if you even like take a step back and look at anything, even getting good at playing a sport or even getting good at like cooking a dish, it takes practice, it takes trial, it takes time, and it takes feedback.
Yeah,
So like nothing you do in life is a quick fix or you get instant results. Everything, takes time to develop. And I think today's culture, they don't really push that enough. That it actually takes time and dedication to achieve something significant. Everything is
right.
due right now in 30 days and in 24 hours, like get rich tomorrow.
Yeah. And I could see the media and even social media portray that idea of getting something quick and being a genius because you made 1 million in a year, and that's like just as soon as you started, right? And a lot of gurus sell that idea too. Like they're like, oh, I just started Amazon 3 months ago. Now I drive Lamborghini, and people think that, oh, if I don't have Lamborghini in 3 months, it's not worth my time, right?
Yeah, it's
So
it's incredibly
it's
interesting right now how the world's moving. But I think anyone that's built a business that's significant, it just takes time. So,
100%.
so for anyone listening, if you're like thinking about entering entrepreneurship, allow yourself to have the time to develop the skills to create something that's meaningful and that will impact your life in a great way.
Yeah, it's for me, it's visualizing what I want my life to be like, and finding people who live a very similar lifestyle that I'd like to live, and then reverse engineering it further of what I need to be working on. Even if it's going to take my entire life to get there, at least that journey is going to be enjoyable because that's my vision, that's my goal, that's how I see myself, and that's basically my contribution while I'm alive. So as long as you enjoy the journey, right? It's not like it's doable. It's not going to be easy by any means if you're aiming for big goals, but it will be super rewarding and super worth your time and efforts if you aim for big goals and you do enjoy every day of your grind, if you want to call it that way. That's what I found with this business. Like the reason why I went into the space that I liked, which is like travel related home decor. Actually, one of the products in the background, two of the products, the frame and the map, they're both from the business that I've just sold. I like the customer. I could understand them. I enjoyed interacting with people who buy my products. So when I had some challenges, it wasn't like like it was doable. I could see myself still grinding through the challenges and not giving up. But if you don't like it, it's easy to give up because you're like, oh, first year, it's always hard and you're losing money, let's say, and you're not really living that lifestyle yet because there's a lot of work to build the foundation, and you don't like people you deal with. It's easy to give up, right? It's like it's hard to stick to it if you don't enjoy that journey, right? So
So how long did it take you to get to like the first milestone, Andri? How long did it take you to make your first sale? Because for anyone that hasn't sold anything online ever, the moment you make your first sale is like, wow, this is actually doable.
yeah, first sale, when it happens, it changes your overview on the world. That's for sure. It changes how you perceive the reality, and it felt amazing. I think, well, yeah, from the time I came up with the product line idea until I started selling was almost a year. And I don't recommend taking so long, but that was just me being a perfectionist, and I wanted to create the best possible product. And probably I could start earlier with a more inferior product and develop it as I go. Now that I look back at it, but that was just my view. I wanted to have good enough reasons for the customers to choose my product versus existing competition. So yeah, it took me a while to design them because every design is my own. It was copyrighted. So it was developed specifically for the brand I was building. It's not like I found a product. Okay, let's just send it to Amazon and let's just sell it because there's profit in there. I created them basically. I made them better than anything else at that point, and still, I'm pretty sure. And that way I was proud and I wasn't hesitant to talk about my business, what I created, because I knew that I put a lot of efforts into that, and I've done everything possible to make it the best. Um, and then about, yeah, I think it was a year. And I actually started selling when I went to a conference. I set a goal for myself to join other entrepreneurs like me, because in Kelowna there was nobody else. I was pretty much alone. I didn't know anyone doing anything similar. I wanted to be surrounded by people like me. So I set a goal that in December, it was early December 2017, I'll be at the Capitalism Conference organized by Ryan Daniel Moran, who I admire. And at that point, I have to be one of them. I have to be already selling so I can talk about owning a business too, not let just be a one-entrepreneur at that point, right? And it's funny how it works because when you set the goal, because on December 6th, I remember seeing my first sales coming through. I was still flying to Austin, Texas, not having any sales at all. So I was still a newbie, still a one-entrepreneur, no business whatsoever. But as soon as you have sales, that's called a business, right? And first day of the conference, I see that my inventory finally checked in and some of the orders were coming through. And it's December, so it was fully organic. And it like, you can imagine the feelings. You have no idea how it works. You have the first few units in the inventory and it sells. And you're like, okay, I can figure the rest.
I think it's just a belief switch, right? Because like a lot of times when you're learning something, it all sounds like great, in theory until it actually comes into reality, right? It's like, wow, now I
Yeah.
can actually see in my account that, I have X many units in stock, and some random person in the world has just bought something that I took time to
Yeah.
put together and to create and to actually sell. And now, like, I've had my first transaction.
Yeah.
Um,
Somebody you don't know trusted you enough to send you those 20, 30, $40 and buy something you created. That feels pretty incredible. That feels like, okay, now I can do anything.
so how long did it take from that point, Andre, to actually see a lot more sales volume come in?
um, Here's how it developed. By the end of December, because of the holiday season, the seasonality of the business, like Q4 is usually big, and especially with the products being giftable. I was sitting in that conference room at my day job, discussing some things, and I would randomly check my sales app from Amazon, and I could see, oh, it's 10 a.m. We have this first meeting of the day at work, and I already sold some revenue over $1,000 worth of product, and I'm like 2 weeks into the business. I'm doing something wrong with the rest of my time, So my motivation then increased dramatically, and I started researching a lot of like things that anyone should learn as an e-commerce entrepreneur. So I was applying everything I learned right away, spending every single minute I had free to improve my business and my knowledge about the industry while still working. And then January hits, and January is super slow, especially for the products I had. And I learned that it's not always that easy. But I already learned enough not to give up and experienced enough. So I think timing was good for me emotionally because I could taste that little bit of freedom in December 2017. Then 2018 was quite a year because in 2018, I actually got fired from the job. Right before I got fired, I achieved 20K a month revenue. I felt like everything's going great. I started thinking about other products. Like my income was fairly stable. I like that it's all taken care of. I felt like I'm a smart ass. I figured life. Then a few weeks later, I got fired. And then a few weeks later after I got fired, because when I got fired, I knew that I had a business running. It's doing okay-ish. I can probably survive. And I also applied for the unemployment insurance just to be sure that I'm not going to lose my house because I already bought a townhome in Kelowna at that point. But a few weeks after I got fired, I figured out that I have a real issue with the business, and that was inventory quality issue to be specific, which came to my attention through negative reviews, lots of emails, basically customers complaining that my product doesn't work. And that was a problem with the scratch-off map. It would not scratch off easily. That's a huge problem because that's the main function of the product. And that experience alone taught me a lot. When I looked at the numbers, I calculated how impactful that was for the business. I lost over 35K US and almost 5 months out of stock, not really having a business. And that's being unemployed, and that's having mortgage, and that's having all the regular expenses you have, right?
It's crazy how sometimes everything just happens at once.
Yeah.
Nothing, for some reason, life is just like that. Hey, like all the things that, you could do without in 1 month, it just all comes at once.
Exactly.
And I mean,
months ago, I would never imagine my life developing that way.
And when, one thing that when you commit to be an entrepreneur, you just figure it out. Like you don't, quit, or you don't just give up or roll over. You put yourself together, you pick yourself back up, and you find, and you decide you got to do whatever you got to do, and you make it work.
100%. Yeah. And I remember I was delivering food through Skip the Dishes just to get by. We still had an Airbnb. So in my townhome, which is like 900 square feet townhome, super small place. But during summer, we just rent out the entire townhome, and we'd be forced to go and explore the nearby mountains and hiking trails because the Airbnb stuff was paying fairly well. So I was like, oh, I'm super smart that I diversified well enough in advance to this happening, having no idea it may happen. So that was basically saving me. And also, even while we were in the townhome, we had a spare bedroom that we would rent out for fairly cheap. So it was fairly often it was booked, and those extra sources of income kind of saved me because everything else I had was going into saving the business. And when you deal with inventory, moving it across the country or even like across the world, in the case of e-commerce, it can get expensive if there's an issue like that. And the biggest challenge was my supplier, my manufacturer in Ukraine, because I made these maps. I set up to make these maps in Ukraine. They didn't really fully take responsibility for the issue, and they were like, "It's probably because I don't know, shipping containers got too hot. It was summer, right? And we're not responsible for that." And I'm like, "No way, because we sell them in Arizona and we sell them in like hot places, and my competition does it all the time, and it's shipped from Asia, which is hotter, and some other maps are made there, right? It cannot be the case." And I could see that she was hesitant. She was just trying to find excuses, and that was a good sign for me that, hey, you can improve this long term. It's not going to work out. You already had some difficult times, and that's the response. And it definitely teaches you a lot as an entrepreneur to always have a backup plan and always have proper procedures to minimize those risks and stuff like that. And you can't really learn that through the book. You really learn it either through somebody else's experience if you're a smart person, or through your own experience if you're like me. But at that point, I kept reading the books I like, kept improving my mindset, and to me, it was a great example of interpreting the world in the right way. in my mind, everything happened for me at that time, not to me. And it was there just to teach me something. Because at the end of the day, MBAs or any real business education, formal education, cost way more than 35K and whatever else I spent on my life there. So to me, it was a great experience because after that, I improved my business dramatically. Everything I could think of that could go wrong, I tried to fix in advance. And at the time I was selling the business a few weeks ago, I knew that it's an amazing system and whoever owns it will be grateful that they bought it from me. So yeah, those are the fun times I had to go through.
I think that that's a really important, point of view for anyone that's thinking about being an entrepreneur. Like, things are going to happen that you don't like, but you have to just, switch it and reframe it in a way that's beneficial to you, right? Because if you just let anything in life happen to you where it paralyzes you and you can't do anything, then you're really in trouble. But
Exactly.
if you still have the energy and like the creativity and the perseverance, just to go out there and continue, figuring things out, you'll eventually get through it.
For sure. Yeah. And I've heard someone use this example, which I think is pretty descriptionary of the mindset. Imagine a family, two brothers. Their father is an alcoholic and he was beating them up as they were kids. Very often you'll see that one brother would go about their life and succeed and build businesses or achieve success in other ways, and the other one could easily find an excuse and tell everyone that they actually became an alcoholic or drug addict because of their father being that way. So it's all about interpreting the reality, because one clearly took it as whatever happened happened to them, and the other one explained it as whatever happened for them, in order for them not to be there, in order for them to learn the lessons that they could see their parents going through, right? So it's all about your personal view on the world. It determines more than you can
I,
control
I
it.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much control and how much choice they have over all things in their life.
100%.
I think that's one of the biggest things that people aren't taught or they just don't know how to do. And that's just being responsible for your choices and the amount of control that you have in all things. If you don't like something in your life, you have the control to change it. Like, you
For
don't have
sure.
to live because you see things, a certain way on TV or on social media. Like you can choose not to pay attention to any of that, right? Like, we do have
Yeah.
choices and we do have the ability to change.
Yeah, and it's also the matter of focus, because what gets more of your attention uh, gets more realization in your life, right? If you're focused on stuff you can't control, let's say politics or whatever, taxes, stuff that you don't really impact, then you're you're always going to be limited by the limitations of those external factors. But if you focus on what you can actually control, let's say in my case, I wanted to be in a country where capitalism is supported and you can succeed as an entrepreneur, and you don't have to have the right connections in order to be successful. You don't have to bribe anyone or anything like that, right? I wanted to be there. I knew that, hey, other people make that move. It's doable. I can do it too, right? And it's not that everybody needs to move. I don't think it's the recipe to success at all. But I feel like surrounding matters. And to me, it does for sure. So I wanted to choose who I hang out with, what kind of world I live in, and what kind of external factors impact my everyday behavior. So that was my decision that, hey, I actually control that. I'm not a tree. I can move. Like I was born in a small town, like 200 something thousand people, and it was fairly village like people were super traditional, and I was growing up there knowing that I'm not going to stay there, and most of my surrounding from those days is still there, and I have nothing wrong with it. Like, I don't have any problems. It's their choice. But for me, I knew that, hey, I don't like this and this. What if I move to the capital of the country? That's where the money is, that's where education is, that's like, it's the economic engine. My life will potentially be better just because I'm there surrounded by other people. So I made that move. And then after that, I was like, okay, I learned something. I'm grateful that I'm here, but I think I can do more, and I can do better. What if I challenge myself? I move to this other continent I've never been to, a new country, a new set of rules, completely different society, and see if I'm actually worth something without my parents, my family, all of the connections already built. And I like that challenge because I know that at the end of the day, it always turn out well for me when I feel uncomfortable. And that was the case with the business too. Like I could see I'm super uncomfortable. I lost my job. I lost my 5 inventory. It was high deficiency rate. I had to get rid of all of it. There's no way I can resell it. I have a challenge with my manufacturer now, but it's actually making me better and stronger so I can build even cooler things, like more epic shit, you know?
Yeah. A lot of times, some of your biggest challenges are your biggest lessons. And you
True.
take that away to the future and you make way better decisions, and you have such a vast experience knowledge that you can pull from that are, that are going to allow you to just build bigger things in the future.
For sure. And yeah, and also raising your standards, I think matters a lot. Like the reason why I started the business was for that location independence. I wasn't sure if I can make a decent living, but I knew that for me to live, let's say in Southeast Asia on an island and try that digital nomad lifestyle that everyone was advertising on social media, that was kind of the goal. I was like, hey, I'm young, I don't have kids. I may always regret not trying, right? And if you try something, sometimes you're not ready for it, but you try something, you set yourself a new goal, which is uncomfortable. You usually figure out as you go if you have the right system of beliefs and you have the right support network. And that's what I take care of all the time. But to continue the story, I think it's more instrumental when I just use my own story. There was a point when I determined that, hey, I don't have any more cash left. If I want to achieve that goal of that digital nomad lifestyle and full location independence kind of career, I will have to take some losses and make some sacrifices. And I just decided that I'll sell my townhome so I can fund the new round of inventory and be back in stock for Q4 for November, December to recover that business. And when I was talking to my friends, most of them were not entrepreneurs at that time. They were like, "Oh, you're stupid or what? You have a house, at least something, right? Find a job and just keep living your life as a normal person. Why would you risk everything, right?" To me, living conventional life was just not an option. I'd rather risk and lose everything and know that I tried than knowing that I chickened out. And
100%. Like, I think there's a satisfaction and there's the reassurance. Like, if you tried your absolute best and the results didn't turn out your way, you can live with that, right?
100%, yeah.
But if you look back and you said, hey, I could have done better, but for some reason I didn't, like, time will just eat at you. And there's nothing worse than, no amount of money can buy that point of time back. So I
Yeah.
think that's huge.
The worst thing that can happen is me sitting at a retirement home, 80 years old or 90 years old, being fairly sick physically and regretting that I didn't do something in life. And now I can't anymore. And I'm still alive, but I'm pretty much done,
Okay, so your business is on the verge. You have all this adversity coming. You're poised with this choice to sell your house and save your business, and you decide to go ahead and sell your house. With some pushback from the people around you. What gave you the confidence to just do it anyway?
Basically, regret minimization framework.
The old Jeff Bezos.
Exactly, just what we just talked about. I didn't want to regret not trying. And what was also fun, and I tried to make fun of any challenge, I decided to sell it on my own without realtors just to see if there's a backup option for me to become a real estate agent if I decide to. So I thought, maybe I can do it myself. Maybe there's no need for me to hire someone and share the profits with them, right? And fortunately, at that time of the economy, the price of the townhome went up significantly. So it kind of made sense to cash out. I wouldn't lose really by selling. The only thing is I wouldn't have that historically proven asset class in my pocket, the real estate property, right? But I like the process of selling. I gamified it for me. Most of the time I was at home, right? So I could show it to people. I advertised it through Facebook. I had some Facebook ads, ManyChat sequence, answering some questions and providing basic info to interested buyers. But I actually ended up selling through Facebook Marketplace. The person who bought the townhome found my listing on Facebook Marketplace. So that was funny.
It's funny that
But
you can sell anything online these days.
pretty much. And I was like, hey, I know how to sell stuff online. Why don't I sell this townhome? But yeah, and I think I also have a good eye for visual stuff. So I've taken really good pictures. I've made a really good video. So compared to other listings like that for that price point, I couldn't really see anyone do better job than me. And I kept receiving calls from realtors at the time saying, hey, I have 30 years of experience. I can sell it for you. You can do it on your own. And I would ask them, hey, can you please explain what you can do that I can't? And everything they would name, I was like checking marks that I can actually do this. There's no real reason for me, not because everybody could do it, but I had enough skill set at that point to take care of the process. So compared to like spending 24K in total, that was my calculations, how much I would pay to a realtor to sell it. I spent 3,000 something to the buyer's realtor who was kind of accompanying the buyer when they were buying the townhome. So that was a fun experience. I had the cash on my account. I had no home. We just packed everything back to that same Jetta. I spent a few nights on a couch with my friends. And then my wife, Vera, flew to Nepal. It was her lifelong dream to go to Everest Base Camp. And I stayed for a few more weeks to sort out the business stuff. Yeah, mostly I was just sleeping on the floor on the couch with my friends. I think I was in Vancouver in November 2018 then. And I was planning to join her in Southeast Asia because that was the goal of the business. I had that vision that I have to have my laptop on a beach somewhere where it's nice and it's not like the winter's nice. I mean, not like in Canada. Sunny, good lifestyle, good network, because usually in those places a lot of other entrepreneurs hang out, and that's what I always value. And I just had to make it happen. So the proceeds from the sale, part of it ran into the inventory right away, so I could stock up for the holiday season. The product was ready. There was already a proper inspection in place by the time I placed the next order, so I knew that the risks are minimized. And I knew that inventory is on the way now from Ukraine to the United States. All the labels are on. I don't have to do anything. It's going to be in stock. As soon as it's in stock, I'll just turn on ads and it's going to be working for me. And I'm buying this ticket to Bali like 2 days before I received my Canadian passport, which is perfect timing because it's way easier to travel with it. And I'm flying to Bali and I know that, okay, my life's never going to be the same just because I have this experience. I challenged myself. I took these risks, and whatever happens next, even if it fails, I've proven to myself that I'm going to take the chance whenever there is a chance.
Okay, so now, your business is so you sell your house, you buy your inventory. Now you're heading to Asia. So when you get to Asia, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling like on top of the world now? You saved your business, you sold your first house, and you're in a destination that you've always kind of pictured in your mind. How did you feel when you landed?
Just like I feel most of the time. I'm always challenged with some new projects, and at that time I wasn't sure it's going to work out, but I knew that, hey, at least I've achieved this goal. I don't have to sit in the office right now looking at these dull mornings. Like only like 8 a.m. it becomes a little lighter, and it rains in Vancouver this time of the year. There's no sun in Kelowna either if I were to stay there, and I'd still be reporting to someone doing stuff that isn't playing towards my best capabilities, right? Not living to my full potential. I felt like I'm doing something right, even though it gave me chills at times. And being there, at least it didn't give me chills from the weather. So it was encouraging that, hey, you can make things happen if you do whatever you can. If you do like 100% and even more, and you challenge yourself, you're not hesitant by being uncomfortable, but you do everything possible.
All right, so we hear the story of you kind of getting to Canada, you starting this business, you're overcoming these early challenges. We fast forward a few years now, and walk us through the moment you decide that you want to sell your business. What was that moment like?
Yeah, so basically after those events, I didn't have any major issues. There's always something, but no major issues that'll cost a lot of money. I kept improving my systems. I tried working with a VA, which helped me with some SOPs, so standard operating procedures as well. But at some point I was like, okay, let me see if I'm playing something worth playing. because I see other people succeeding, and I'm just doing okay, comparatively, which is not a good thing to do, compare yourself. But I wanted to prove to myself, first of all, that what I've built is worth something. And the easiest way to prove that is to sell the business. If somebody is willing to pay a certain amount of money, that's what your work is worth, basically. And I looked at some of my friends who are building a successful career in their corporate world, which is admirable too. I know how much work goes into that, and I was like, am I on the right path? Just questioning myself in a healthy way, not putting myself down. But I wanted to take on a new project, just like with selling my townhome back in the day, and see if what I've built is worth something. So I talked to a few brokerages, these online brokerages who sell businesses, to figure out the way how to plan ahead and exit my business when it's the right time. So about 1.5 years ago or so, which is about 1.5 years into the business, my revenues in total throughout the history of the business at that point were probably under 200K. So it's not like it's a huge business by any means. But I already decided that, hey, if I sell it for $500,000, it's probably worth to trade what I've built for money and use that money to scale something even bigger and more impactful. So at that point, I just wrote down in my diary that I'm going to sell my brand for 500K US. My hand was shaking when I was doing that, because for an immigrant from Ukraine from a fairly poor country and poor surrounding, my parents never made that much money in their entire lives. That felt like a lot of money. And I thought, okay, if I'm like, I felt uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign. Even if you don't achieve that, at least you'll get close to it, because now you're committed, you wrote it down. And I think I announced it to a couple of my friends. So now I'm on, like, it's a done deal. I said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if it's going to happen in 10 years, it's going to happen in 10 years. Doesn't matter, right? So at that point, I decided, hey, I'll do whatever makes sense for the business. I'll be thinking from now on as the owner of the business who's buying, who wants to invest, who's looking at it from the side, not someone emotionally connected. And that was a super healthy approach, because I could see myself improving the business so well for the sale that at times I was questioning whether I should sell it, because it was becoming so much better overall as a system, more profits, less headaches, less work to do, like less hours of my involvement and stuff like that. So that's always a healthy approach, in my opinion, even if you don't plan to sell the business, because you make it better for yourself at the same time. And fast forward 1.5 years, actually during the sale process, I went through 2 brokerages. One didn't really bring me proper buyers, so I decided to try another one just to compare. And I'm happy that I did try another one, because they had a much wider, much broader audience. I think it's just marketing dollars that they spend. More people know about them, so more buyers come and buy through their platform. So I've had more interest through that second broker. Maybe it's also time of the year, because usually Q4 is more active in terms of any business activity. So that might have helped too. But that other broker gave me opportunity to talk to like 10 or so people on the interview, where they ask you questions and they looked at your numbers, your books and everything, and they're interested. And from those 10, I got 2 offers. So it was pretty much a bidding war, which ended up with an American guy getting the business because they offered a little more. And it's funny because I wrote that number down back in the day, 500K for a business, but the offer was for 419 for the actual business. And then it's inventory, it's some of the sales and profits you make until the closing date. So you don't really know until it's done how much you're really getting, like to the exact number.
Right.
But when you do know, when it's all like done deal, they send you an email showing all the calculations, like the sale price minus broker commission plus sales revenue pre-closing date plus all the inventory, which I just sell at cost to the new buyer. And I look at the number and it's 500,238.05. And I looked at that screen for like a minute thinking, wow, why didn't you sell the goal a little higher?
What a magical moment that must have been too, right?
Yeah.
To realize something that you manifested, just from an idea just from some thought into something that actually came into fruition in reality, and that's bringing you to this new point in your life and your journey as an entrepreneur. But well, first of all, I want to say congratulations. That's amazing, because
Thank
what a
you.
story we heard. From all the early days, being in the Ukraine, then traveling here, then coming, and almost, for some people they might have quit when they got hit with that $30,000, $35,000 inventory issue, right? Because they might have not been able to see further down the road and commit to it and do whatever it takes to save their business, and they might have played it safe. And again, you get rewarded for taking risks in life.
100%. Yeah. And clearly, a lot of people lose when they risk. That's why it's called risk.
Mm.
And I lost enough, and I paid my price, fair price of losses and failures. But that's the price, being uncomfortable. I just know that at the end of the day or end of the life, I'll figure it out, and I'll be living the life I want to live. And I'm getting closer than ever now, and it's always going to be better. Even if tomorrow I lose everything I've made, I know that I'm not going to be your regular architect, let's say, because my mom
Right.
still dreams that I'll become a proper architect. I know that I'll be living differently, not because I feel like I'm smarter or whatever and somebody doesn't get it, but because that's my choice, and I know that that's how I leave the best mark after me. I leave my legacy that way, and that's how I can contribute to the world and make it better by following my dreams, no matter what. If challenges happen, that's just part of the game. You just take it, just like your homework assignments at school, and you figure it out and you move on. And then you have something to share, and you get to share with others, which I'm doing now, and it feels amazing, because for someone it's going to be helpful, and not knowing that person, I'm already helping them. And egoistically, it just feels good that I'm in a position to help others. When I was born, like, my parents were making probably $100 a month, and that was on a good month, because after the collapse of Soviet Union, there was no economy whatsoever. I was super poor compared to North American kids. And when I moved to Canada, I didn't really have any money with me. I barely knew English. My English is not perfect now, but back then it was like almost no one could understand me. It's all about the growth. And the more you grow and the more you achieve your goals, in my opinion, the more you help the world, because as long as you have that given mentality, other people around you benefit from your success.
100%. I think a lot of times too, for immigrants and for people, anyone that comes here that have seen a different world and a different like circumstances that have been passed down to them, they're more, they tend to have a little bit more fight in them.
True. Yeah, I
Because
feel like I'm always going to be hungry.
yeah, because a lot of people like that I've kind of met here and grew up here, they this is all they known. They've only known a great living standard, a clean environment, uh, things to do all the time. And I think sometimes, that can make a person too comfortable.
True. Yeah, and comfort is the enemy of success.
So now with, now with having everything that you've done underneath your belt, Andrew, what do you foresee next? Like, what's your new challenge?
Well, now I feel like after experiencing this, and maybe it even didn't challenge me to the max, because when I got the money, I could see it in my account. I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. I don't feel like I made it. I don't feel like I'm successful, like to the level that I feel I should be, at least. I don't feel like I've made anything extraordinary anymore, but not in a bad way. I'm not diminishing the achievements, but more like, hey, actually, you can do a lot more, and you can live an even better life and create more impactful businesses and stuff. And now you just have all the doors open, not like metaphorically, right? In your mind. Like before, 500K writing down would cause me shaking the hand when I'm writing it, but now it's not a lot, especially with your network. As you grow and you upgrade and you surround yourself with other like-minded, goal-oriented people who want to live their life at the highest level, right? You change your standard, and it's healthy to change your standard. Like some other friends I have are about to sell their businesses for like millions, like probably like close to 10 million. Other people that are like friends of friends have sold their businesses for 50 to 100 million. So impossible is really nothing. It's only the matter of you deciding, hey, this is how I contribute, this is what I do, and I will do whatever it takes, and eventually I'll be there, no matter what the price that I have to pay. As long as you, whoever's listening to this, you're fine with the price to pay, you'll get there. And it's going to require some sacrifices, but it doesn't mean it's going to be hard and you're going to be struggling and you're going to suffer through life for it. That's what I keep hearing, like, oh, money is not that important. No, it's not about money. Money is just a result of you creating value in this world. It's not that, like, I'm looking at this 500K every day and praying to this number and trying to please the god of money, right? It's about me becoming a much better version of myself in order to be at that level. So it's not a big deal anymore. Just like at some point, getting an iPhone was the biggest goal I've ever had. And sometimes it's the best thing you can do in your life. Cross that off and move on, because it's not worth your life thinking about something materialistic only,
100%. And what an inspirational story, Andri. How can people get in touch with you?
I'm open. I'm definitely happy to connect with like-minded people. And I think the easiest way to get a hold of me is by joining my updates about my entrepreneurial journey on social media. And I recently started a YouTube channel that I plan to post more videos to. So you can find me on YouTube where I can share some of my stories, my insights. It's just my name, Andri Sadlak, ANDRI SADLAK. Same on Facebook and Instagram. My daily stuff, I usually post to Instagram, and I feel like it's easy to connect. It's seamless. Yet I'm trying to limit my time hanging out on that platform, though, because it gets fairly addictive. And on Facebook, I also have a group where I share my insights, sometimes my kind of diary notes, my explorations, something I've discovered recently that helps me. So the group is called Limitless Entrepreneurship. So you can join that one. If I look at your profile, because I screen people who get there, and you look like a like-minded person, I'll most likely approve you. But yeah,
And,
I
I,
think
and I'll put all that in the description below in the video. So, Andri, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story. And we look forward to all your new success in the future.
For sure, Dad. Thanks so much for having me on your channel. And again, I'm glad that this is helpful to somebody. And yeah, let's stay in touch. Let's make your dreams come true.
All right. Thanks, Andri.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. What an inspirational journey that Andri's been through. And again, we look forward to him doing a lot of great things in the future. And as always, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wait for new videos that I post every week. I'll see you later.